Hey everybody. So for this first video, this first illustration recording, I'm going to be doing a Ratman character for my best friend Cale. So I asked him if he had any good characters to do an illustration of, to develop for him, and this is the one he gave me. So let's open up a new image. We're starting from scratch. US paper, 8.5 by 11, 300 DPI. This is just how I like to start off most things because I grew up drawing on 8.5 by 11s. And so I just have it's just a familiar territory, and you can always change the stuff later on as we go. So this is how I usually just start off. Sometimes I'll do if not this, I'll do like a tabloid and then, switch the width and all this if I'm doing like a landscape or something, and just do whatever you want. Okay, so start a new layer. I also, I really don't like doing anything directly on the first, on the background layer here. It kind of leaves you kind of limited if you ever want to change something or move whatever you draw around. Just for your own ease of use, it's good to just keep that blank, keep it as a foundation. Maybe change the color of it a bit, which comes in handy for when you're coloring stuff. And let me just pick a nice kind of gross. I think about Ratman, kind of gross and greenish. Start off with a color like that. Usually I'll duplicate that with Control-J, delete the original, just because I'm a bit neurotic. Take copy off the end, lock it, just so that I have this constantly. Also trying to make sure that I keep my layers color coordinated, but I'm going to be going into a lot more detail about certain process things, layers and structures and curves and all that stuff in some different videos in the tutorials section. For this one, I'm just going to be diving into the actual development process and trying to show as much about how concept art is done as I can. So without further ado, we'll just get started. So Cale's character his race is a Ratman. So a little humanoid race type guy. Let's just write all this stuff down. Just make a new layer that I like so. It's a Ratman. Male. A ranger. Let's see, so his weapons, he uses a long sword. Actually, Cale, my friend didn't give me his name, so I'm going to call him Bilo, at least for now. So Bilo, the male rat ranger. So he's got a long sword and a main gauche. Now I had to look this up. It is a parrying dagger from the Renaissance in the late Middle Ages. So it's sort of, you'd have your main long sword in one hand, and the main gauche in your other hand, and it would be sort of like a little dagger shield that you would use for deflecting blows and killing people if you needed to. There's even a type of category I found on Wikipedia called a sword buster or a sword breaker, and that's awesome. Okay, so those are his two main weapons. He also mentions here a crossbow, but it's preloaded with one or two extra bolts. Okay, so this guy, he means business. Brutally sinister, so this is getting into the personality. Brutally sinister, that sounds important. Put that near the top. No hesitation to double cross people at the right time, so he's an opportunist. Opportunistic treachery. That's a good way to put that. Let's see here. I've just got an email opened up on my other monitor. Not many languages known. Shitty common spoken poorly on purpose, though. Plus Ratman and some Elvish and Dwarvish cursing and deal-making knowledge. That sounds pretty good. So he's a dealer. Dealer type. He manages shifty types, works with them. He'll be rich and soft looking. Wearing moderately nice clothes. What are fairly nice clothes would look like for a Ratman? A few rings. And some sort of ornate neck apparatus. Oh, and golden fangs. Cool. That's a good idea. Enough specific things, enough interpretable things. Really, oh, so he's got golden fangs, neck apparatus, but with really dirty swords that are in rough shape. Okay. Oh. So he's neutral evil. I'll put that up here. So he's not actively seeking to be evil, but he'll be evil when the opportunity arrives. Flaw is avarice. So, hey, what? Okay. Okay. Bonded to some sort of sense of honor that lets him feel all right about what he does. He's pompous, snide, and cunning. So he's self-aggrandizing. Is it Z or S? Let's just stick with Z. Who cares? Pompous, snide, cunning. So very rat-like. Okay, so let's put this is a 0-1. This is the very first one of these that we're going to be doing many of, where I'm going to draw your favorite role-playing characters that you've come up with over the years for free. I'm just using that as an opportunity to go into the concept art process, show people how making art can be done. And I just want to make it interesting for everybody and give everybody the opportunity to get their characters that they've grown up with rendered out as much as they deserve to be, to a professional level as best that I can. So this one will be Cale's Ratman. Cale's Ratman. Okay, we'll just keep it there. All right. So I've got all these notes. He did include a write-up about how he thinks that rat folk would be kind of personality-wise. I might go into it as we go along. This video is going to be long. For each one of these characters that I'm going to do, I'm going to try to spend around 8 hours. Some of them will only need a bit less. Some of them will need a bit more. I just want to make sure that everybody's characters get a chance to shine. So I'll be recording this probably in 2 or 3 parts, but I'll get it out into the technical stuff. This is the first time we're doing this, so there's going to be a lot of experimenting and trying things out and making mistakes and figuring stuff out. So anyway, so with that in mind, I've got a Ratman. He's male, he's a ranger. Below, neutral evil, prone to avarice, self-aggrandizing, pompous, snide, cunning. He's got these weapons. He is a physical description. He's rich and soft-looking. Fairly nice clothes, few rings, and neck apparatus, golden fangs. All this stuff. Okay, this is good stuff. So there's going to be a few things that we're going to need to sort out. Actually, let's just keep this on its own layer called notes. I'll make that gray, lock it so I don't accidentally go back to it and ruin all my nice stuff. So let's start doing some research. So with reference, all good things start with reference research, and the best thing is conversation. But I don't really have anybody to talk to up here right now, so I'm just going to be going on ahead by myself. So start off with some refs. So what we're going to need is, to start, we're going to need some rat reference, and I like to start off with the skeleton. You'll see how we go. So let's look up. I'm just going to look up a rat skeleton. I'm just using Google image search. I like using it just for objective things. Just, this is an object. This is what it looks like. It's it's just nice and clinical. If I need to know what a rat skeleton looks like right now, it's a really handy bit of software, I'd guess you'd say. Okay, I don't need to overlook anything. I just need one good picture of a rat skeleton that gets me what I need. I guess a couple of these first ones will do. So let's see. Okay, search by any other. Okay, that one's pretty good, and that one's pretty good. Now, since I'm new to making videos for YouTube, I don't know if I'm allowed to show these or let them be seen on the video, so I'm going to be keeping them off of my screen for now until if I ever find out in the future that I'm allowed to show people what reference I'm using, then I will. Until then, I'll just keep it off to the side. So, a Ratman is obviously a combination of a rat and a man, so trying to find a way to combine these two skeletons to look like one unified biological entity. Color code this real quick here. Okay. So with that in mind, I'm just going to start trying to draw out what I think the underlying skeleton of a figure is. This is how I normally work with, especially with strange creatures. Okay, so I'm going to be mostly quiet. I'm going to be popping in every once in a while. Again, still figuring out how this process is all going to go. So I hope you enjoy watching me draw. Okay. Now, before I get too carried away, I should probably be drawing him just right off the bat in a way that I think kind of captures his personality. So, he's self-aggrandizing, pompous, which I spelled wrong. I'm just going to get a little bit obsessive here. Okay, it's just one S. Snide, cunning, sinister, opportunistic, treacherous. Rich, he is rich. You know what, I think this guy is going to be standing a bit pompously. Something. Let's try out some poses. It's important to remember about process, not perfection. Never just sit there and come up with the best idea and then make it. You'll always get to your end results faster if you just start drawing and then correct it as you go and make it better as you go. Now this guy right now is built more or less just like a human but with a stupid looking rat head. I'm going to not do that. Okay, so rats have big skulls. Now, a lot of the rat reference that I've been seeing has the feet being completely flat on the ground. I think the term is plantigrade, but I could be wrong. Normally people would draw a Ratman. I'm sure you've all seen it with the leg, the dog leg type thing like that. And it looks like rats are like that, but I think for this guy, I'm going to break from that tradition and just give him long rat feet. Just going to erase this really bad one. It's embarrassing me. Okay, how do I feel about this guy so far? It's not so bad. Just flip it a few times. This looks a bit stiff. I'll bring it down. No, he is sort of a little bit off balance. Now it's always good to work from simple to complex, obviously. Sketching and doing underlying sketching work stuff is so important because it's so much easier to adjust these simple stick legs and limbs than it would be to go in and try to draw things right off the get-go. Find out that you shouldn't have done it some way and then needing to redraw a whole finished limb. Oh, that'd just be soul crushing. It's a hard lesson to learn. I've made that mistake many times. I used to get really impatient sometimes and just go in whole hog and just end up doing something that I'm kind of embarrassed by and I didn't have the energy or the luxury of the time to change what I had done. So here's sort of basically like a rat standing up. It's got a bit of a shorter spine. It's not as flexible in here as a rat is. It's more human there. I did want to give it the tall rat pelvis and the iliac crests. Flared out rat rib cage works good for me. I just don't want it to be as floppy and flimsy as a rat. I'm sort of leaning a bit more mannish. And it could also even, it might stand up on its toes every once in a while in a fight. So we'll see here. So, for this, excuse me, he's got his hand on his hip, looking sort of mean. I think we'll maybe, I'm going to try something. I'm going to save his head and keep the head over here. I kind of like how that turned out. Redraw some of this stuff. I think I need him to make him look a little bit more skulky, a little bit more just hunched over, just simple, sort of more deceitful, and a little bit more ratish. Trying to get that sort of figured out. Okay. So I'm going to start cleaning that up. Dim that down. Actually, what I'll do is I'll make another layer for the bones. This seems tedious, but it's helpful. Getting to know the underlying structure of a creature is one of the best ways to go about developing a creature. So I'm going to go back to my other rat reference. I've got a couple of pieces open in the other window. It's just one from Flickr, a mounted specimen. So I'm just going to put in just some stick bones. Okay, rats do have very strange tibias and fibias. I kind of want to keep that out. I think that sort of stuff might help subtly bring in that ratness that people might pick up on. So they got these weird big jutting shin bones that go out. Calcaneus sticks out quite far. And then we'll worry about the toes later. I'm going to get a move on now. Just make sure the general paddiness of the foot lines up. Now I'm a little bit skeptical of all of this. Remember, it's better to fix it early on. It's worth that what seems like extra effort, because it's going to save you effort later on down the line. Radius and ulna. Okay, rat skull. I've got pictures of the skeleton. I'm just going to double check the skull. This is one thing that is going to come in real handy. It's just knowing how the skull is going to be shaped. So let's see if they've got any good pictures of skulls. There's going to be lots of good pictures of skulls from rats, but let's just pick one. Let's just go to the one with let's use the one from Skulls Unlimited. There's 3 out of the top 5. So, the second one's got a bit more of an angle. Okay, so they've definitely got a cranium, just like most mammals. They're smellers. Have a big schnozzes. Now, I always assumed that rats had bigger top teeth, but it seems that they've got, at least in this example, they have larger lower teeth. Now, I want his mouth to be open. Just ends up making it a bit more interesting than closed. Plus, he's got those gold teeth, and I want to be able to have those be visible. I think those could be an important part of his character. Okay, so that'll do for now. If we need to change it, you can easily come back in later. This might be a little bit extreme. Got the eyeball in the orbit. I might be drawing the eyeball too small technically. I think they've got quite a big one. I think a rat's eyeball is probably more like that compared to the skull. But there's that old, standby principle where it's like smaller eyes make things seem less approachable, less adorable, less respectable. Things with big eyes, think of like Disney characters. You just want to tuck into bed, read them a story. Things with little eyes tend to be interpreted as shiftier, nastier little things. So for this guy, because of who and what he is, I think we'll give him the smaller eyes. Especially because rats, even like a gross sewer rat, is still quite adorable. You just wash it off and like give it a warm bath, and you'd have a pretty cute pet. Okay, so we've got a skeleton. You'll notice that I've been flipping it horizontally back and forth. I'm just hitting F2. That's the default setting that Photoshop comes with for F2. People have until they're made aware of it, a lot of people tend to have like a tendency to draw stuff. If they're right-handed, things will either like sort of angle to the right, or if they're left-handed, things will go to the left, and the figure can be really skewed. But the trick is that you never notice it until you look at it flipped. If you're working with pencil and paper, you can a hard way to check would be to take a picture of it with your phone and flip it in the software, or just hold it up to a mirror, or hold it up to the sun and look at it through the backside of the sheet of paper and see if you're making some mistakes that you wouldn't otherwise notice. So that's why I'm flipping it back and forth, to make sure that it's more or less on model, so it's not getting wonky, it's not flopping around. I'm not noticing anything really glaring. I'm always nervous when I draw pelvis. I always feel like I'm going to do something super wrong with the pelvis, but I think for now this is going to work pretty good. So that's that. So next stage is I'm going to just make a new layer, red with black ink in it. Actually, before moving forward, actually, no, never mind. Forgot. So for bones, I'm going to dim this one too, just like I did the one that I based on reference. So we've got that. I'm going to colorize it so I keep it organized. I'm going to call it muscles. Now, I'm actually going to change the color of it. I'm going to actually make it just red. I don't know why. There's no rational reason. It could just be black. But for me right now, I feel like doing it red. Classic red muscles. Okay. So let me just start putting in the muscles where I can remember where they attach. Whenever I don't remember exactly where a muscle attaches, I always get reference. Andrew Loomis is a great source of reference, really good at simplifying the figure. But my favorite is a book called by David K. Rubens, I believe is his name. I'll might make a video about that and just ranting and raving about how much I love that book. Really good for figure drawing anatomy. Something about those drawings just really spoke to me. It was really useful stuff. So biceps. going for mostly human. Rats do have some strange anatomy that differs quite a bit from us. You'll notice I also didn't draw the scapula. Maybe that would come in handy. Let me just double check here. I mean, I may as well. Scapula is the shoulder blade. So it comes over the humerus like this. On a rat, this is basing it more on a rat one. Okay, yeah, that helps. So more anchor points for muscles. Now, I don't want to give him big muscles because he's rich. He's soft, as Cale described. I'm just trying to map over as much of the human muscular system as I can remember right now. A lot of this is going to be covered up by fur, but it's crucial to have as much of a level of familiarity as you can of how the muscular system works. So the genitals actually come out, at least the penis comes out from between these two pubis bones. I always thought that it was like coming out from above, like up here, but the pelvis is both lower and higher than people tend to assume that it is. And so I'm not entirely sure about rat testicles or genitals in general for that matter. But I remember my wife telling me about how hamsters had huge balls. So since rats are rodents as well, I might give an indication of a scrotum, but not comically. I think like if this was like a hamster man, it might be like I saw a picture once. They were huge. It was just disproportionately large. But for this guy, you know, it'll still be there, just like any biological organism that is sexually dimorphic, like a rat man, is going to have the need to reproduce and have genitals. You may as well make space for it. Just even if you just want to keep it simple, that's fine. But enough about rat junk. It'll do well. Oh, and I went to a different website. Okay. So taking advantage of comparative anatomy, being able to map out human muscles onto a rat skull. Let's see here. So mammals tend to have a pretty consistent familiarity between their muscle systems. There are some things that have weird muscles all their own, like, you know, rats have this strange belly muscle that I've never seen before. Cows have this, and cows and horses have this big muscle that goes up the side of the neck. Whales have a set of muscles on their tail called a peduncle. It can get pretty wild out there, but usually you can be pretty safe if you knew a human anatomy or a human muscular system. You can get pretty far just applying that to any sort of other animal system, and you'll get pretty close. But remember, the more research you can do, the more reference you can gather, the better. Okay, so let's just double check with the personality, because I'm working on the facial muscles. This is where the expressions come from. Pompous and snide and cunning. I mean, this guy's got to have a smirk. So let's see. This is going to be weird. So humans have a big ring of muscles around their mouth like this. Hello, here's the teeth. Here's the nose. And I want to fail to find a way to put this in there that still works with a rat's anatomy. I mean, they've got a nose up here that kind of comes off. And rat noses are sort of like this. I'll come back to that later. But I don't want to have, and they've also got those big, cute, like bunny lip things. But I don't want to lose that because the teeth, I don't want to make that too big because then it'll cover up the teeth. And I want the teeth to be quite prominent. But if it's too thin, it might start looking less like a rat. So what I might do is make the nose go a bit higher, maybe make the jaw. I'm not going to move the jaws because I think I want to put something in his teeth. But let's see. So I'll leave the nose out for now. I need to commit to the mouth first. The expression is going to take dominance over it. Okay, so, remember. Okay, I got to remember, progress, not perfection. So let's Let's try this out. I want to see those teeth. That's my goal. I want to see teeth. It is stretching quite a lot. I want to double check where this rat's its ear hole is. Okay, it's right behind the zygomatic arch back here, just like a human. It's coming off here. Now rats sort of have more polite ears like that. I'm going to give this guy, since he's not a rat, he is a mythological being, so I'll give him some big pointy ears, something a little bit more bat-like, a little more cunning, cave-dwelling. These are cave guys. But I also don't want to make them too big like I've just done. Now I do want to include, I don't just want to make it a rat ear. I am going to give it the human textured ear, the human shaped details and wrinkles and stuff. Actually, you know what, I might even give him an earlobe. Subtle ways to combine, taking opportunities to combine the human and rat features. Okay, I'm not super pleased with this turning out this way. So it's just not jiving. I like the pointed ears are good. I love the pointed ears. Now the other way, the other side. You can always rework it. Just got to keep moving. Don't stop. Whenever you're working and you can't get something right, don't sit there and let it wear on you for too long. It's good to always try your best to find the solution, but you don't want to let it defeat you. You don't want to let it get in the way, because who knows? Maybe once you start working over here, this will make a lot more sense by the end. Who knows? Just trying to add some form, just for my own reference here, to the snout. This guy looks like a real asshole. Just going to put in some shading to help me wrap my mind around what's all going on in here. There's a lot of complicated lines. Might be a little overcomplicated. Yeah, I'll keep it. I'll keep it there. I'm going to give a little bit of a point to the head, sort of like kind of like a Neanderthal bun on the back. You know, I want to have, since he's hunched over, I'd imagine that's part of his anatomy, so I want to have it be a little bit of a cantilever, a little bit more of like a hunchback, give some strength to those muscles. Okay, let's erase these. Actually, let's keep those doodles. We'll keep them there this whole time. Okay. Just want to make sure. Okay, this way. Oh, no, the other way. Okay, so his left testicle is larger than the other one. It sounds like I'm making a joke, but it's just sound biology. Rat have strange feet as well. I'm not going to bring them up to completion yet. I'm still going to keep them vague, but I just want to include them on this layer so that when I do the next layer, I don't need to worry about getting too lost or forgetting about something. Okay. this stage, I'm just trying to think of if there's anything else I can add to this stage while I'm here. Okay. Blatantly sinister. That sounds nasty. Okay, so I've got this. Next I'm going to add the skin. We'll throw the skin on. So I'll dim this again. Okay, and we'll do this with a bunch of black. Remember, I like to keep my layers. This is just me being a bit neurotic or trying to keep on track of things. It's really terrible when all your layers get out of hand. You have too many. I always try to keep mine in just some sort of chromatic order, just so at a glance I can always tell where I'm at and what I'm working on, what layer, where it goes. Because if I accidentally drag it around, like, okay, well, I know that yellow goes above green. Okay, so now I'm back to normal. So I try to keep fastidious about my layers. I'm rude to add them. So when I do, I label them consistently, all capitals, colorize them, and then I lock the ones I don't using. I never used to do that until about last year. Now I do. It's just, man, it just sucks when you're working on something and you get a bunch done and then you look down and you find out you've been doing it on the wrong layer. Just breaks my heart. Okay. So actually, this the skin layer. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this is going to include things like the fat and the skin and everything. So let's just sort of try to make a line art. So this is now sort of like the inking stuff. This is the superficial data, the surface layer. Now I'm going to look up the rat nose shortly. It is stretching quite a lot. I'm trying to make him look a little bit more cunning, a little bit more, because his mouth is open quite a bit. I want to double check where this rat's ear hole is. Okay, it's right behind the zygomatic arch back here, just like a human. It's coming off here. Now rats sort of have more polite ears like that. I'm going to give this guy, since he's not a rat, he is a mythological being, so I'll give him some big pointy ears, something a little bit more bat-like, a little more cunning, cave dwelling. These are cave guys. But I also don't want to make them too big like I've just done. Now I do want to include, I don't just want to make it a rat ear. I am going to give it the human textured ear, the human shaped details and wrinkles and stuff. Actually, you know what? I might even give him an earlobe. Subtle ways to combine, taking opportunities to combine the human and rat features. Okay, I'm not super pleased with this turning out this way. It's just not jiving. I like the pointed ears are good. I love the pointed ears. Now the other way, the other side. You can always rework it. Just got to keep moving. Don't stop. Whenever you're working and you can't get something right, don't sit there and let it wear on you for too long. It's good to always try your best to find the solution, but you don't want to let it defeat you. You don't want to let it get in the way, because who knows? Maybe once you start working over here, this will make a lot more sense by the end. Who knows? Just trying to add some form, just for my own reference here, to the snout. This guy looks like a real asshole. Just going to put in some shading to help me wrap my mind around what's all going on in here. There's a lot of complicated lines. Might be a little overcomplicated. Yeah, I'll keep it. I'll keep it there. I'm going to give a little bit of a point to the head, sort of like kind of like a Neanderthal bun on the back. You know, I want to have, since he's hunched over, I'd imagine that's part of his anatomy, so I want to have it be a little bit of a cantilever, a little bit more of like a hunchback, give some strength to those muscles. Okay, let's erase these. Actually, let's keep those doodles. We'll keep them there this whole time. Okay. Just want to make sure. Okay, this way. Oh, no, the other way. Okay, so his left testicle is larger than the other one. It sounds like I'm making a joke, but it's just sound biology. Rat have strange feet as well. I'm not going to bring them up to completion yet. I'm still going to keep them vague, but I just want to include them on this layer so that when I do the next layer, I don't need to worry about getting too lost or forgetting about something. Okay. At this stage, I'm just trying to think of if there's anything else I can add at this stage while I'm here. Okay. Blatantly sinister. That sounds nasty. Okay, so I've got this. Next I'm going to add the skin. We'll throw the skin on. So I'll dim this again. Okay, and we'll do this with a bunch of black. Remember, I like to keep my layers. This is just me being a bit neurotic or trying to keep on track of things. It's really terrible when all your layers get out of hand. You have too many. I always try to keep mine in just some sort of chromatic order, just so at a glance I can always tell where I'm at and what I'm working on, what layer, where it goes. Because if I accidentally drag it around, like, okay, well, I know that yellow goes above green. Okay, so now I'm back to normal. So I try to keep fastidious about my layers. I'm rude to add them. So when I do, I label them consistently, all capitals, colorize them, and then I lock the ones I don't using. I never used to do that until about last year. Now I do. It's just, man, it just sucks when you're working on something and you get a bunch done, and then you look down and you find out you've been doing it on the wrong layer. Just breaks my heart. Okay. So actually, this the skin layer. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this is going to include things like the fat and the skin and everything. So let's just sort of try to make a line art. So this is now sort of like the inking stuff. This is the superficial data, the surface layer. Now I'm going to look up the rat nose shortly. Okay, let me just look up rat noses. Okay, found a cute little rat. Okay, we're getting there. All right, the face takes a while. I don't want to put in too much sinewy details here. It is going to be, I mean, just by nature of him, I'm thinking of him as sort of being, kind of portly a little bit more aged, rich. He's gone a long way. So with that fat content under the skin, there's going to be a lot less of the sinewy muscle visible, far less than if he was pretty stringy. You're not going to see his six-pack abs or his... sort of six-pack abs, I suppose. Also a lot of it's going to be covered in the fur when I start coming in and doing the fur over top. So I'm just trying to put in. I wonder though. I'm probably going to do. Let's get a little bit of some man boobs. I wonder if male rats have nipples. I think even for me, this might just be a little bit too much. Yeah, this is too much. This is nasty. Still not worried about the toes. He's rich, put his pinky up. It's getting a little bit fancy. Okay, this hand looks bad. Okay, so the knuckles are here, 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 and here. Yeah, it's a bit better. It looks more like it's pressing into him rather than just sitting on him. Everything's got to be real, got to be touching, got to be feeling like it's there. At least as close as you can get it to. Yeah, I think those big ears are starting to really throw me off. He's looking like a weird kangaroo man rather than a rat man. So I'm just going to look up a sewer rat and see how they kind of carry their ears. I still have, the real thing just has more personality than the fake thing. It's not often as you can let reality tell you the best way how something should be done, the better. There, he's kind of like pointing his ears behind him, like he's listening in. He might be looking at you, but he's listening into something else. You're not as important as what he's got his ears on in the background. Now I'm curious about if I kind of forego all this, and I'm going to go with the big snout. I like how the big snout looks. He's got his ears twisted around. Okay. So we're getting there. So now this time, instead of just making a new layer, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a layer on top of this one that just sort of washes everything out. I'm going to make that one gray. For everything that's sort of there, like on a technicality, I make it gray. Just so that I always just remember, just leave it, don't worry about it. It's not going to get in your way. So I'm going to make a new layer for the fur. Remember, he's rich, soft looking. I wonder if soft refers to his, like, the quality of his coat, or if he's pudgy, or if he looks kind-eyed. I hope it's not that, because I already got those nasty mean eyes. He's got golden fangs, weapons in rough shape, brutally sinister. Okay, well, let's start working on it and seeing what we come up with. We'll just put hair and fur on it where a rat would have fur. And then we can style it. We can dress him up from there. Gotta have crazy eyebrows. Don't want to go too overboard with the details of that at this point. Just focus on the silhouette of it. Now, rich, conniving guys usually have a little bit of flair and style. Not too much, not overtly. Something that's a little bit sorted out and combed up. He's vain, greedy. Kind of reminds me of orangutan hair. They got those big points at certain joints that look funny. So for the most part, his genitals are just going to be covered in hair, hidden in his fur. They're just there because he's got them, not as a joke. It's just a body. Okay, so now since I don't want to, I've already drawn all that skin, and I don't want to redraw it, I'll just knock that out. Okay. So now we've got the anatomy finally sorted out after an hour. After a whole hour, we finally went through all of those different stages. Let's take a look. So started off with the notes. Start off with the notes, trying to get as many questions answered about the characters as you can get. That's always the best way to start off. The more questions you can answer about your character, the better it'll be every single time. So we'll start off with that. So we got the sketch here, and then we added on the bones, cleaned it up, made it into the bones, threw the muscle system on there. Then put the skin on top, got rid of all the extras, and then added the fur and cleaned it up a little bit. Now that's pretty okay. I just want to see. Now the thing I like about this guy is he looks a lot more hunched over than this guy. All right. Okay, so I got my reference there. Actually, let's rename that to sketch. Bones and muscles and skin. Cut it out. Put the fur. Okay. So I'm just going to put this all together. Actually, I'm going to keep the notes separate. I'm going to put these under anatomy. Make a new group, Control G, select all the layers you want, hit Control G. Once they're selected, put a lock on it so that you don't accidentally draw on those. So I got the notes, and we're going to start thinking about the clothing and costumes, but we're going to get into that in the next section. I'm going to take a break, I'm going to come back to it, and we'll go into the costume for Bilo, the neutral evil male Ratman Ranger. Okay, so I've taken a break from this drawing, come back to it, and I realized that I really don't like it anymore. So I'm going to do some changes. Let's see about what kind of things aren't working. Now I think, as far as it goes, I think what the problem is that he's starting to look too plain and human in these limbs, as well as his upper arms. Just this whole sort of area of proportion is very almost standard and humanoid, just kind of plain and blah, and his head is too big in relation to that. It all seems so much more stylized up here than the rest. So I'm going to be pushing his anatomy a bit. May as well. I'm going to redo it on the fur layer, so I'm going to duplicate what I've done with the fur. I'm going to make the original one invisible. Actually, I'll keep that visible and just put it back to normal for the anatomy section. Just lock that. Oh, never mind. Okay. So, new fur. Call it new fur. Okay. Okay, there we go. So what can I do here to fix this? Now, what I think is going to help is thickening up his thighs, giving him a bit of that rat-like parachute pant kind of look with the thick thighs, the big quadruped legs. I mean, even here you can see that like the fur that I drew originally was right up to the meat in the skin, and that's just really sort of not realistic. So let's see how this looks down here. That's getting there. Helps. How much more of that do we got to do? You can probably punch out the thighs a bit, giving him some saddlebags. Sits on his rump quite often. Just going to exaggerate the ankles a bit. Okay, it's getting there. Something about this arm. It almost seems too small for what he is. I'm going to check back to that original sketch that I did. It had these both had a feel to them that I preferred. I think this one, it feels so much more real than how he's ended up. Same with this one, but I think I'll go with the bones. Wrapping back around to violet. So let's see here. Okay. Okay. Just going to extend the canvas so I can get a side by side. Excuse me. Okay. So everything is lining up more or less correctly. I just think that he's just losing some dynamic sort of mass. Let's get some longer elbow tufts here. Maybe a bit more shield. I think the thing too here is over on this end here, there's like a good nice sort of implied hunch here. My brain was telling me about like a hunched shoulder up here, and I think I forgot to put that sort of thing over here. Yeah, it's getting better. Glad I took a break. Sometimes just taking a little break, working on something else for a while can help jar you loose. Can help you see things with some fresh eyes. It would have been really bad if I let this one go. That would have been a terrible first video. I mean, it still might easily be a terrible first video. Okay, I'm going to just clean up the chest for a bit. I can put that back in. I know I give him a belly, but I also really like this. Actually, here, let me just make it so I can draw over there on this layer. There's those lines I drew earlier. I'm showing the hunch. So let me just get rid of that real quick here. I really like this cavity here, this opening. I like how on the skeleton it looks like it's just hollowed out quite a bit more. And I think also missing here, he's definitely leaning forward. I can see where his vertebra of his rib cage goes, and he's leaning forward. And here doesn't have that much, so I'm gonna see what I can do about that. I remember Cale mentioning that he does have a necklace. Put those notes back. Where are those notes? There they are. Gotta get those notes back. And having that necklace indicated here will help with the foreshortening in the neck and the chest, making things look like they're lining up a bit better. Just gotta flip them again. erase this for now. I'm going to fix this arm up, make it a bit more dynamically posed. Maybe not that dynamically. Ooh. Okay, you know what, let's just do this. Let's just draw a new one. No big deal, it's just a sketch. So I know his shoulders here. See it from his rib cage and his muscles. Shoulders here. And let me just adjust my microphone in case it's being too quiet. Should be pretty good. So yeah, shoulders up here. Maybe having like one of those like pump, like Mr. Peanut with the cane kind of things going on here. It's a little bit stiff. Okay, getting there. I'm going to move his hand over. I think I've kept everything on layers. So that's on his skin, if I remember right. Yep. So let's move this all over. See if it's still worth using. I'm going to work with that. Can make this work. Okay. Okay, he's getting better. He's getting better. And some just dimensionality on him to help show that he's billowing out a bit. Okay, that's better. You know what I should have done? I should have saved an older version. I mean, I kind of did. Let's see. So that compared to that, it's better. I think this might be overdoing it up here because you can't make everything bigger. You got to pick what to make bigger and what to keep the same or what to keep small. Because if everything gets bigger, then it just cancels out. Just cancels out everything that should be bigger. You got to make the call, even if it's wrong. Can't be afraid of being wrong. So what's the worst that can happen? Somebody might help you become right. Okay, I know that rats don't have manes or mutton chops, but on this guy, I'm going to use that as a means to kind of represent his wealthiness. I'm thinking of this guy almost like an Oliver Twist character in the slightest bit. At least insofar as facial hair. Okay, so the other thing bugging me now, I was just talking about not making everything big, but I think I really got to make his hand on his hip bigger. So I'm going to see if I can get away with not redrawing the whole thing. Don't want to make it too big. Uh-oh. That's too big. Or too wrong. Okay. Sometimes it just would have been easier to just redraw it. Okay, let's keep working. Keep finessing it. Now, I don't need to go too much further on this because a lot of it's going to be covered up with clothing and colorization and solved in that one. But I do want to, before I feel good about it, before I move on, I do want to feel a bit better about it. Okay, that is better. Now I think by making his feet a little bit on his tiptoes, that'll help make him a bit more ratish. I think that'll help. Even though I wanted to have his feet flat, I think I'm going to have to... It's more important that he reads as a rat and feels sufficiently ratty. Maybe put this back up here. Still keeping him loose. Now this tail looks like it's kind of popping out of his leg here, and I've already got enough detail here, so I think I might, actually, I don't know if that had a problem with it. Well, let's see how, now tail is an opportunity, I realized that, for personality of this guy. It's part of body language. Now tail is easy to change as we go. I'm going to just try to put in something a bit, a general sort of shape and flow to it. So we can always adjust that later. Now before I do the costume, I'm going to start getting this set up into color. One thing I also did right before I started recording was I created a grading layer with the curves, a layer that I call grading, sort of like color grading when they change the color of film. What I did is just set up a adjustments layer with curves, and actually I'll delete that one. I'll just show you. So there, just sort of punches it up. I'll do a video about curves, explaining exactly what it's doing, but I just really love the sort of look that you can get with curves. Just sort of like how it happens to affect your work and just how it looks. So I usually just like setting it up like that, so I can work that way. So next up, I'm going to start doing the coloring. This is an approach that I've started sort of recently. I find it sort of helps out quite a bit. So since this one's a technical aspect, I called the frame. So with this, let me just double check something. Turn off opacity, because I want this to be hard. Okay, good. It fits. So what I'm going to be doing on the frame is making it all white, making it a mask, converting it, and I'm going to be painting in that white, that frame. It's going to be masking it in, covering up the whole silhouette of them. I'm just outlining a silhouette. This sort of, it's going to come in handy in the next stop. It'll make sense. I'm not going to get too picky with the fur just yet. It is a little bit tedious, but it helps me keep my process straight. It helps keep things clean for me. Don't worry about every little detail. You just need the outline. As long as the outline around the figure is solid, you're good. Okay, I'm going to leave the tail vague just for now. I'll come back to that because I just want to get to the next stage a bit more obvious as soon as I can. apply the mask. Gonna select it. Gonna hit my, oh, maybe I haven't made that yet. No, I haven't made one of my favorite actions. So I'll do that now. Oh, just bumped my desk. Okay. So an action is something that you can get Photoshop to do if you do a lot of it, or if it's a process that's tedious and you don't want to do it every dang time. All you got to do is make a new action. So I've got it in button mode. I'm going to turn that off. So I've got a new color layer with F4. I'll go to that on a different layer. So this one I'm going to make F3. So make a new one and call it Expand Selection. And the function key will be F3, and the color, I don't remember, let's see, green. So record. Oh, wait a sec. Oh, I blew it. Okay, let me start over. And let me just double check what color. Okay, it's purple. Okay, so make a new one. Expand selection. Color blue. Function key. Oh, don't tell me I forgot to do it again. Yeah, I did. Okay. Yep. Okay. Now I'm ready. New. Now it's perfect. F3. Record. Select. Modify. Expand. 2 or 3 pixels is really good. No. I will not apply effect again to this bounds. Okay. And then stop. So now when I zoom in, I just hit F3. There, see, it does it. F3, perfect. Laps it over so there won't be a pixely edge. And fill it. Ah, nice. So I'm starting to get this frame set up around the figure. I'll just turn off my curves layer so that you can see what's going on there. Okay, so I've got, these are my 2 actions, my 2 favorite ones. There's probably another one coming up soon. So I'll just fill in these other chunks. I should have filled this one in with the magic wand as well. And for the tail, won't get too fancy. Okay, save it, leave it for now. Actually, just clean up the fur a little bit, just a little bit. Okay, so I might need to change this color grading layer eventually, but okay, we'll put that under the anatomy section. Okay, now, this is where the fun starts. Ooh. Okay. So we've just got sort of general tone. This is just his overall local color. It's sort of tough to really nail one down. Ratmen I'd imagine they'd have quite a range of value from brownish, greenish, mossy sort of color. Now this guy, he's sort of fancy, so I'm not going to make him covered in like moss and dirt and moldy stuff. Although he is a ranger, so he's outdoors. At least it kind of implies it a bit. Let's just stick with sort of a gray teal for his undercoat. Well, maybe. Actually, let's. We can always change it. It's fine. So let's just do local color. Okay. So the reason I've got this frame here is so that I can just get messy with the colors without needing to worry about ever cleaning up the border ever again. I can just leave that. I mean, I'm going to come in later and clean up all where the fur is flaring out and everything and making sure that that works. But this way I don't need to worry about keeping anything clean. I can just go hog wild right underneath everything. Okay, so it's basically the local general color. Let's do some hue variations. Okay. I'm going to make all the parts of him that are most exposed to the sun darker, sort of like a tan. Brown and gray characters, it's good to have a mix of warm and cool tones. At least it can be. You can see hopefully how this is a bit cooler, this is a bit warmer. Still both on the warm end of things, but it'll be fun to play with that. And I don't want it to be too even and too consistent. Almost chimpish in a way. You know, humans and chimps have the exact same amount of hairs on their body, all growing up from the same location. It's just chimps have darker, coarser, longer hair. Humans have a lot of fuzz instead. I'm definitely going to be making a video about why I put in the colors the way I do. You often, if you've been noticing, they'll just sort of pop up over here in a layer that I'm using with a mask. I've just got an action that sets it up that way. If I do a color picking, it'll go to the foreground color, and then I just hit a button and it'll set it all up for me. It's really nice, but it helps focus on keeping a limited palette. It's this weird contradiction that kind of happens in art a lot of the time, is if you restrict your palette, that is using fewer colors, you kind of it makes it a lot easier to just get a picture that looks good. It's almost like you have more options or more ability. With having less function, you get more out of it. It's a weird thing. I've been starting to try to work with it rather than against it lately. I was kind of inspired by doing a bunch of sidewalk chalk art at my friend's old house, and I was always just really happy with what I was able to do with like 4 or 5 bright colors, and they were just really aesthetic and nice looking. And then when I'd go home and start working on stuff with digital, and I had 16 million colors, nothing felt the same. It all fell flat. So I've got these 2 colors. I've got like an underbelly color and an outer sort of hair sort of color thing going on. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to bring in, actually, wherever the hair is thinner, the hair starts getting, it's a buggy thing from Photoshop. The hair is getting thinner. I could go away a little bit. At least around his snoot. Up here. Okay. So I've got that color. I can alter it anytime. I can select it, and if I change it, I want it to be like a greenish-y thing or something. Actually, so it's all up to me. Or whoever it is whose character I'm going to be drawing at the time. So next up, I'm going to pick a color for his skin. It's typical rat pink. The good thing about doing it this way is that, I can put it where I know that it needs to go, the obvious places. But because it's on its own layer and it's only one color, I can still change it at any time if I need to. I'm still sort of working through this sort of process. I've just sort of fell into it recently, but I've been having fun with it. It just can help keep things simpler for me, even though it seems way too complex. If you had recommended me working this way a year ago, I would have said no thanks. I'm fine with treating Photoshop like just paint, which is fine. It works really well, but we'll see how this all turns out. It's partially experimental. Hoping to do a lot of experimenting in the future, especially with these videos. Explore techniques, try out recommendations. Ooh, so that's what my grading layer does to it. Let's fix that. the other good thing about having colors on these layers, each having its separate layer, so you can still use the color picker and paint like normal. You don't have, if you have any of these adjustment layers on, you don't have to disable anything to see what it really is or not. I always used to play with the curves at the end of every picture just to get some neat color interactions that you can't get with a brush. But now with this new way that I paint with layers and things, I don't have to wait till the end. So let's do this with the mouse. Yeah, it just kind of punches it out a bit. We can change that anytime. It's its own layer. Totally flexible. The flexibility is awesome. Let's make all this mouth stuff pink. Now, rats do have cute little pink paws. So this guy will have some of that going on. Nice, let's get in there. It's going to dim the lines a little bit. Okay, now what's next? I think some sort of dark layer. Not yet an occlusion layer, which is the deep shadows. something to maybe just punch up the forms a bit. And normally, if I'm using a faster computer, like at work, I like to have a secondary, like on my secondary monitor, have the file open in a separate window on the other monitor, so I can see it all at once, but also how it looks on another, how the colors look on another monitor. I know a lot of people, myself included, who used to and still do fall into the trap of being obsessed about making sure their monitors are the same color when creating art, like their Cintiq or their whatever tablet they got Photoshop open on, and it has the same sort of color matching as the other monitor. And I realized that that's, it's not a dumb idea. But the second the next person other than you sees your picture, it'll be on a different monitor that you don't have control over, you have no awareness of, and every monitor is going to look a little bit different. So I actually like having my monitors be different, sometimes quite different, so that I get a sense of some extremes, some range, that if one monitor is kind of way off and it looks bad, then maybe I can afford to pull back a little bit, rather than having it look the same on both of my monitors and then being shocked when I see it on my phone screen or something. So if you're like me, or like how I used to be, you obsess over making sure your monitors match up, you can relax. It's not a terrible idea. So I'm just punching in the general shadows. Usually shadows I like to do where I know that they are going to be, or they have to be. And then blending them out from those spots. Just for fun, since the frame is pure white, I'm just going to put this in there, this little specular in there for now, just temporary. Okay, at this point, I think I'm going to start working on the costume itself. So do that outside of the frame, above the frame layer. Oh yeah, see, look at all that tidying up I didn't have to do just by having the frame layer there. Ugh, it looks, from a distance it looks sort of like that giant ear, like on the back of that one rat that they put that they grew the ear on. I mean, well, it doesn't, but you know what I mean. Okay, so the frame can even be a darker color, which might help, especially when working on a darker character. Or something that's just nice and neutral. Let's try it out with black for a while. Although then let's just invert the notes. Okay, so let's call this the kit. Oh, you know what? Actually, I just remembered we shouldn't do that because I'm going to be silhouetting in the costume stuff. And it just helps to have it be black, something kind of neutral. Okay, so let's go. Let's just double check with the notes again. Okay, so he's a male ranger. I think the ranger part's going to be pretty crucial. Just make a note of some particular stuff. Okay, what's going on? Now, why is that? Oh, that's why. There we go. Rangers, things like hoods and straps over the chest and quiver and stuff like that, sort of typically ranger, but let's think a little bit more here. Also, that reminds me, before I forget, a really important thing to consider with a Ratman, and depending on what sort of game you're playing, whether it's D&D or Pathfinder or whatever you got, with something like a Ratman, or any creature really, is how tall are they? Is this guy the size of a man? Is he about 6 feet tall? I think that would look sort of stupid. It wouldn't really, just wouldn't have the right feel. But at what height compared to a human would he be? Let's just do a little test. Like the way that I'm picturing it is I'm picturing them, I always picture them as being about like the size of my desk. So here's a dude. It's about to go on an adventure. Picturing the Ratman, usually about like kind of this size. So the reason why this is important is because with a character like a Ratman, I'm imagining that a lot of his equipment will be stolen or pilfered or raided or just taken off a corpse or stolen, or something that's been improvised into something else, like a what would be an example, like a metal like beer stein that's been pounded into a helmet, that kind of thing. And the size of it is going to really affect by a very noticeable chunk what sort of stuff would be available to him for whatever he's got on him. So with that stuff, unless you have something particular in mind, it's good to just dress him up with the sort of things that he's going to need, and then maybe go back and inject or like replace things with found items or improvised fixes or misused products of human make or whatever you got. But for this guy, I'm going to start. Oh yeah, the size of the character also will affect how materials are going to be depicted on him. So if he had like a burlap sash and he was like 100 feet tall, it would just be like this flowing, like graceful ribbon that catches the wind, even though it's burlap. But if he's like an inch tall, like burlap would just kind of like sit on him like a beam and just like flow around, like he'd be like lifting up the burlap. But if he's 3 feet tall, the burlap would probably have like a much more naturalistic sort of cloth-like shape, that kind of thing. Just as an example. So let's think here. Okay. Oh yeah. So he's a ranger. He's rich. He's got his weapons here. That's fine. He's a dealer type. Picture him having merchant aspects. Rich, merchanty. Actually, not merchanty, merchant-ish. He's just merchant-ish, just a little bit. Oh yeah. The necklace. Though he did word it neck apparatus, it makes me think it's something more than... I don't know how to spell apparatus. Maybe. Oh, I had it spelled up here, that's why. A neck apparatus, what could that be? Something more than necklace, something with a function. Yeah, gold teeth, gold fangs. Rough-shaped weapons, self-granted and pompous, snide, cunning. He's also evil, prone to avarice, so greedy. He's prone to avarice, so greedy. He's gonna swipe stuff. He's gonna grab stuff. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to engineer it as we go. So this guy, he's a ranger. He's outdoors. He's gonna need some sort of foot covering. Now this is just here to give the indication of something on his feet. I'm going to leave the toes open because I'd imagine their toes would play a big part in where they can get around to. And also, if you did have a boot that enclosed the toes, it'd probably make a lot of noise and make things a lot more cumbersome and stuff. And I think they would really appreciate still being able to use their claws. And rats also do have like quite big toes, not this big, but they sort of stick out like this. And so those would be really good for grabbing onto like rocks and cliffs and whatever sort of object they might not be able to reach with their hands. So he's got footwear. Also being a ranger, something a bit more bootish, something that goes up a bit for going through swamps. Although he does have open toes, so he might not care about walking in puddles. So maybe we could just make those not as extreme. Oh, greedy. I was thinking greedy. So he's going to have, or avarice. Yeah. A bit pressed for time, so I'm going to skip looking up the dictionary definition, but I'm thinking like greedy. He hangs around with ne'er-do-wells and he's evil. I'm picturing with greedy, he's got like a larger like coin purse, but it's well strapped down because he knows that he's hanging around with people that want to steal it. Actually, let me just put a little bit of a shadow under his ears here. Go back. Yeah, okay. So I'm thinking I'm going to work something like that in like a big pouch. In that case, let me just check where his I just need to double check where his pelvis is. Okay. So people actually you're supposed to wear your belts around the corners of your pelvis, essentially. But on this guy, there's two good places. So around like his tall ilium, sort of anywhere inside this scoop would probably be pretty good. wanted to go too low. This would be cramming him into a humanoid sort of shape and silhouette, and he does have a really high pelvis, so his pants are going to be like really high up like that to help with his ratishness. So maybe do that nice and secure belt, so he'll have a belt. As far as pants, let's see. Would a rat person wear pants? Would they need pants? What would he, if he does wear pants, why would he wear pants? Is it to fit in? It does mention he knows how to speak and deal with elves and dwarves, and does speak common, so he does deal with them. But also humans and humanoid things deal with like animals and stuff, and they don't wear clothes. I don't know if this would be weird to them if he'd want to just like, not draw too much attention to himself, just exposure to the elements. And if so, do the pants have considerations for tails? Does he have sort of like a fly to access? I think rats do urinate a lot. They mark their territory. Pretty sure they're one of those. They might be one of those pee on the hand species. And they walk around. They put pee and poo on each other to like identify each other. So make sure this guy has easy access to his diaper zone. I'll button over there with the hole for the. Okay, yeah. So he's got sort of like a little groin flap goes like this. A button and a button. Sort of makes sense. And then his tail goes out through the hole, and his legs come out through these. That's a leg with a really good foot, just so you know. Okay. So getting there. It's almost looks a bit like ninja pants, almost, especially with these little footies. Now the final design isn't going to be all black. I'm just trying to fill in the parts. Remember, it's progress, not perfection. I could sit here for an hour and a half and just think about what he might wear, but I'm going to find the right answers faster by sketching them out, by getting dirty. Okay, rich. He's pompous. Assuming he's going to be throwing it around a bit. I know it's not cool. I think that's kind of the point with this guy. So I like these big, pompous fop sleeves. I don't know what the technical term is called. They like puff out and they've got the slits in them so you can see how many kind of fancy fabrics the cat's wearing here. Okay. Just got it open. Make room for that neck apparatus. Something he's most likely proud of. Those flaunts. Whatever that is. Now I might take... it is risky. But I'm thinking I might take a liberty with the neck apparatus. I'm going to have it actually hanging from his ears. So it does go under his chin and around his neck. But it hangs down from his ears. So it's sort of a necklace. And sort of, actually, you know what? If I'm going to do that, I got to make sure the design's different, because that just looks like a stethoscope. Let's try that. You know, maybe that was a bad idea. Maybe I should just start with the necklace thing. Almost picturing like an Egyptian, like King Tut collar or something with more matter to it. You know, with greed and avarice. You know what this is? This is for when he's in a tight jam. This necklace, this neck apparatus, is going to be a fantasy style ice cream man coin belt dispenser. It's going to be made of coins from all different places and reaches of the earth. This guy makes a lot of dealings. He's got to do currency exchange. He's been around the world. He's seen some shit. He's got a necklace that's going to be made out of all these coins. So I'm just going to put all these circles. Maybe there's some that aren't circles. Maybe there's coins that are rectangular. I know a lot of Chinese money has holes in them. I was looking at some coins just on the weekend, actually. Some of them had like crescent moon shapes and stuff. I think it was for carrying them on strings. But it'll be a whole bunch of things. So it goes with his avarice. It goes with his wheeling and dealing. It goes with his pride. It goes with his smug pompousness. So he'll have all these different metals of coin wrapped around. Maybe some bits of like some ribbon. Maybe probably sort of like nice red silk. Got an open vest. We're getting there. We're figuring this guy out. Just make sure the sleeve is depicted on the other arm. Now these, I don't remember the technical term, but these slits in fabric and stuff, the reason people do that, you'll notice in some old-timey drawings, they'll have the big pompous shoulder pads and the sleeves and the cut open elbow, and they'll have all these different slits and slots and different fabrics and stuff. And the reason why they did that was because they've got all these fancy fabrics. They got a really fancy jacket, but they've got a fancy shirt underneath. And what point is having a fancy shirt underneath the jacket if you can't see it? So they'd rip open or have the jacket fabricated with these openings, sometimes going down several layers through different shirts, and then they would pull fabric out through it so that you could see the fancier stuff underneath, and just as like a status symbol thing. It's really weird. And this is just a more like subdued version of that, where you can just see like some nicer fabric, and you know, it is just like a big kind of screw you. I've got this sort of money to have all this extra fabric where you don't even need it kind of stuff. At least that's what I was told. Some quick release coins. It's also kind of like any little chainmail bib in a way. Okay. Now, he also has, so he's got a long sword and a main gauche. And I was talking earlier about having the long sword as a cane. So he's already got his hand drawn this way. How was I picturing that? Oh, yeah. Now, a longsword is a one-handed weapon. weapons. Now remember, we was going into all that rambling about having no opposable thumbs. So this sword is going to be, I'm going to have to adapt it for him in some way. But for now, I'm just going to put in this really super basic generic sword as like a placeholder. And we're just equipping them. We're going to solve all these problems. Look at all these problems we've been solving as we go. Just by starting with some sketching. And the chipped end. It'll be rusty. There'll be a bigger blade than this, but not too big. It is more of like a rapier, like just like a stabbing and occasional slashing sword. So I need to make sure I do a little bit more research on the hilt. Okay. And he's also got the main gauche. He's got to have like coin purse and kit. He's got to have the crossbow. I always like when pick characters have like crossbows and sidearms and stuff on their hip. I think that works good. As far as the main gauche, I wonder if you would just like have it close at hand, almost stuffed in like in his belt like a kirpan, sort of going on with the rangy amount of coins he's got there. Something a bit more exotic, something with a bit of a sword buster prong on it. Here's something that he's attached himself. Tucked into his belt, uses it all the time. Remember, he's an opportunist. A weapon down here is just going to be just as accessible, but this is a bit more. Intimate. It's easier for him to pull it out without people noticing. If he had it down here, his body would move more, and you'd see out of the corner of his eye, or out of the corner of your eye, that he had moved more. And the human eye. The human eye is attracted to movement first. It'll see motion before it sees anything else. He's got his dagger. Some sort of... Okay, now... I'm thinking about if he does have a coin purse or some sort of kit, where that's going to go. I don't know if he would even keep it visible. It might be like tucked in his pants. It might be up in his armpit. He knows that he doesn't want to get pickpocketed. I wonder, maybe he keeps it in his shoe. Maybe he's got big floppy boots with room for a coin purse. What do you guys think of that? Let me just undo it and then flick back and forth. It's going to be a tough call. I like both. But which one does he have? Which one does he do? The only reason I think he would have any sort of reason for those big ones is just to hide money in. But I don't know if that's enough of a reason for him. I think I'm going to leave them for now. I'm going to leave them in for now. I'm going to try not to forget to work that out a bit more. Because who knows, maybe once I work out some more stuff on here, it'll kind of work itself out as we learn more and more about this guy. I was just trying a high up collar with some points because he's evil. He is neutral evil. I think of neutral evil. I don't really. It's hard. It's harder to pin down the neutral characters. I mean, he'd laugh at you if you fell in a mud puddle in front of him. Yeah, he does have rings. No. giant's ring. And you would probably be able to fit two fingers. Here's a rat-sized ring, and then two fingers in a human ring. These bracelets. It does have gold fangs. And does he say? I'll have to recheck the email if it was gold fangs or gold fang. I think it was fangs. Those are going to be fun. Those are going to look really cool. I'm going to have fun designing those. Something ornate, something handcrafted and fancy. Oh yeah. Yeah, I can't wait to get to those. Just going to make these shadows a bit darker in there for now. Brutally sinister. Actually, you know what I'm just going to look up really quick is a crossbow backsling. I'm going to see how people with slings carry them. Usually anybody with a crossbow only has the crossbow. There's some, these are all modern ones that I can see. They're usually symmetrically right into the back. The guy from Daryl from Walking Dead has his on one shoulder. Some guy's got one hanging from his from the inside, from his armpit. That's kind of cool, but this guy's going to start getting a bit cluttered. So just going to move those notes around. Just going to have it on a clip, on a string, something that hangs down. But it's going to be a small one. It'll be like a shot-off shotgun type of gun. It'll be folded up, and let's just put the one bolt in it so the string is relaxed. There we go. Attached by the string. Speaking of marking territory, speaking of not wanting anybody grabbing his coins, no one's going to get a sneak up on him here if he keeps his coin purse set up right in front of his coin purse. Probably not going to look like that. It looks like a cartoon coin purse, but it's a little mental note of where we're going to put it. I'm thinking, I wonder if something more like an old lady kind of coin purse, that sort of thing, but on a string hanging down, something like that. Even though it is in his groin, I'm not going to make it like a phallic reference or anything like that. It'll just be something there. That's where he'll keep it. It's also down low, so nobody will have the and no one will bother reaching down and just swipe it on him. So now that I've got another spot for his coin purse, maybe I'll check out the thin thighs again. Now he is fancy, so I'm starting to consider like something that's like a set of spats. Something classy, a bit flashy. Pompous, snide, and cunning. Pompous, I wonder if... This might be a bit too much. But grooming. His hair, if I do go this route, his hair wouldn't be black on top. This wouldn't be black. I'm just putting it there to see how this shape would go. Pointy eyebrows. I mean, I did give him these sort of like mutton chops here earlier. That might be good. And a goatee. I don't want him to look like... is it Anton LaVey? He does have, yeah, further back hair. Maybe going down in like a mane. I got manes. I'm still not going to give him a shirt. I mean, you're not going to be covered in hair and wear a shirt. Pants would be good. If anything, just as a chance for him to like have more fancy fabrics. Stuff to show off. Stuff to help with the look. Dealing with pirates, dealing with mercenaries, drug lords. Now the one thing that's bugging me now is Ranger. Ranger. How do I make it look more rangery? Okay. Well, with that, I'm going to take just another break, and we'll start painting them up, start putting in the details, rendering them out, tightening it up, getting it ready for the last push. Probably gonna get it done in the next chunk. So it's been fun. Hope this has been interesting. Hope it's helped, and I'll be back to keep working on it. Thanks, guys. Okay, so taking a second break. Back from the break. So we've got the outfit more or less lined up. Probably going to add some stuff, take some stuff away as we go. But for now, I'm just going to go to my frame and dim that down just to help sort of separate him a bit or make him a little bit more visible. You can see things are just a little bit too harsh right here and there. I just kind of want to make it a bit more easy on the eyes. So I'll just do that. And I remembered that I have this guy. Keep that white. Nice and bright. Okay. Just going to merge these two layers together. I I like to consolidate my layers every once in a while, or if things are getting out of hand, I'll usually just duplicate the image and merge a bunch of layers and delete them or whatever, but I make sure that I just have all the stuff that I was using before ready in another file in case I have to go back and fix some stuff out. Okay, so I'm still feeling pretty good about this guy. I'm going to start going in and painting over this and bringing up a bunch of details and just gonna the last downhill chunk of work to do here. So let's see. I'm going to start off with his jacket. I'm going to start off with like a dusty dark red, something that's a bit of like a luxurious color. So let's see if I can make this a actually quite enjoying the dark pants, but I was remembering the spats idea on his feet. So let me just... Actually, I'll do that on a whole new layer. I'll just keep them flat for now. I'm just going to fill in his pants with just sort of an arbitrary color at this point. I'm going to play around with it and see what I like. See if I like something more. So keep his main gauche black, his sash is black. So let's play around and see. Some sort of realm. I don't mind this browny kind of khaki-ish tone, something worn out, but I think, you know, usually like a purple because of how difficult purple dye is to get. That's why it was associated with like wealth and royalty. I think something, whatever it is, it should be dark. Something that's been like heavily dyed. Maybe like a really dark purple, because that black was really good. I think I'm gonna go with this nice dark purple. So these are his pants here. He's got a red jacket. Let's see about that red. Yeah, it's still got to be red, but I want it to be a darker red than it was before. But more than that, be a good foundation. I'm one of those guys that usually works dark to light when it comes to painting. Usually. Not as a hard and set law, but it it's a good way to structure your brain, at least if you're me. So let's keep working on this stuff. I'm just going to color coordinate these. Let's pick the color for his metallic weapons here. So even though this crossbow is probably going to be wood, I'll include it just in here. So I'll make this the weapons layer. Oops. Now I don't want him to look like Mr. T with a bunch of gold necklaces. I don't want to just make that... I don't want people to have that mental connection exactly. I want to sort of shroud that a little bit, and also to make it fit into the world a little bit more. I think it's the coins and the metals used in the coins should be like, less refined than like perfect modern day gold jewelry. Things like more like coppers and rustier metals and stuff that's been tarnished because it's been sitting on his neck for so long that it's really not nearly as presentable in a contemporary setting, but something that still would read as currency and coins, and I think that's good. So, what I'm going to do now, I've got all this facial hair and stuff to still work out. So let's group all these clothing aspects here. Oh, gotta include the kit. Okay, so let's just make this called gear. This is all of his gear stuff. We'll make it all green. I'm just going to double check some reference for spats. Okay, not too different than what I was picturing in my memory brain. Okay, so now at this point, I feel like I kind of want to just start painting over it overall, like just sort of treating this as one sort of completed image, and then I'm going to just go in and just tweak it and work it rather than get into fancy layer stuff. So I'll see how that's going to go. So I've got the colors more or less how I want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to group everything that I've done so far all together into one big folder like that, and then on top just cut to the chase the paint over here. Let's see how this goes. Okay, where to start? It'd be nice to probably start off working with the, oh yeah, I forgot one thing I got to change. That the eyedropper tool is simple. There's no adjustments, so that without that, if I select this color here, then it would select it with the grading layer on top, or like so to select this brighter color. But if I turn it, or if I make it so that it has the no adjustments, and it ignores the grading, like the adjustment layer over here, so that it'll just select what the color really is. So now I can, do that when before. I'll just show you. Current layer. All right. Oh. I think it's default set to all layers. Yeah, so it's taking this color that you see here with all the layers and stuff activated, and that's no good because now when I take that and do it, it's going to add that adjustment again. So if I just go back and say it, so all layers but no adjustments, then we're good. Just going to clean it up. Okay. Trying to think of where I want to get started here. Well, I may as well start with the jacket. Actually, I'm going to do this my traditional way with the this masking layer. So this one is sort of like an overall shadow. So paint over shadow, so I can put in where the light isn't going to be, and then if I need to worry about different sort of like radiant lighting or anything, then I can go in and colorize it afterwards. So I'm going to start off by putting in the shadow where I know it absolutely has to be. So like inside the jacket, say the underside of that there. So at this point I'm just thinking about general lighting scenario stuff, and I'm going to just go in later on and tighten stuff up, make things clear. So I'm just adding like a bit more rendering and depth. Okay, let me just see if I got a sneeze here. Let me try my mute button. Okay, it's false alarm. Okay, so let me just double check, see if I can multiply layer. Will work pretty good for now. Can always put it back. Okay. I think with the recording software and everything, it's going to be getting a little bit laggy when I flip things. So I'm going to duplicate this file. This will become my new, let me just save it. There we go. And so I'll save that, and what I'm going to do is just flatten everything that I'm not working on right now. Just like this. So this is my base layer, and my shadow layer, and the painting over layer that we're working on now. And then this way, so like when I flip stuff, it just goes by so much quicker. So we'll work on that now. Okay, those are a little bit shiny, but I'll allow it. I'm gonna make sure that there's some gold, some coppery ones, something that's a bit more reddish. Some reddish ones. And also some copper ones. I always love having oxidized copper stuff. I just love the look of it. Some different cultures that he's gotten coins from using different metals.